Well, hello and welcome to the Photo Brigade podcast. I'm Robert Kaplan. I'm super excited because I have my good friend Brad Mangin in the hot seat with me. How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing good, Robert. Thanks so much. It's very exciting to be here and see the cars going by in person in the background.
Yeah.
I've watched almost every episode
It's
from my house.
It's like the Today Show, you know. You can have people. We need to try to get enough fans so that they actually
you need
stand
fans
up.
with signs.
Yeah.
That would be better.
Yes. Well, welcome to New York City. This is the second podcast you've been on, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's not. We haven't done two audio ones before. We've only done one.
We did the one from Alan's house a couple years ago.
Yeah. And you're in town for the same sort of thing. You're going to Cooperstown, right?
Going to Cooperstown next week and to do a presentation on baseball photography and to visit some friends here this week and going to a wedding tomorrow.
Yeah.
And just a fun time in New York.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for those that don't know Brad, he is a tremendous sports photographer, specializes, I'd say, in baseball because your heart's in baseball. He's put out numerous books, some of which are his Instagram photos. This is your first Instagram book, right?
The first Instagram book that anyone really
Oh,
did.
really? This is the first. So it's called Instant Baseball, and it's it's small, it's cute, but it's got all these great photos that you ended up.
Yeah, this came out 2 years ago. I shot the pictures in 2012, all with my iPhone.
All with your iPhone, and it's really cool, and a lot of people are now following suit. And since then, you've also been covering the San Francisco Giants baseball team, and you've been putting out numerous books. This is book number 3, Championship Blood.
This is the Giants won the World Series last year, their third in 5 years, and I have a writing partner in the Bay Area, and every time they win, we got to do a book. So this was our third book that just came out about a month ago.
Really, really high quality book. I was shocked when it came in the mail, and it was just this big honking book. And that's the one thing that, when we're publishing our books, we try to figure out how to get it the best quality. And it really seems like you've done some.
We did. Our
fabulous work.
publisher Cameron and Company did an amazing job, and our designer went to China to oversee the printing, and couldn't be more happy.
Very cool. Well, before we really start on this adventure that we're about to have through your photography, I want to give a couple quick shout outs to our partners here at Adorama. Local camera store here in New York is where we're holding this podcast, and we also have other live events that we host here. You can see all those events that Adorama hosts at adorama.com/events. You can also see all of our Photo Brigade events at photobrigade.com/live. Additionally, I want to thank Tenba Bags, who make a mean camera bag. Canon Professional Services for their support, as well as Rode Microphones for these quality microphones.
Awesome.
Yes, so that we sound good.
And I do want to add that whenever I have any money that I can scrape up together to buy an expensive piece of Canon gear, I spend that money here at Adorama.
Oh, do you?
With
Great.
Jeff Snyder, my very good friend Jeff Snyder.
Yeah, give Jeff Snyder. He's sort of like the pro contact here, and he will.
He's fabulous.
Yeah, we'll put Jeff's contact information in.
Jeff Snyder, you're the man.
Jeff
Love
Snyder.
Jeff.
Where is Jeff?
Jeff, I just texted him. He's back home. He's shooting a Wizards playoff game tonight.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Very cool. So while we start talking, I'm going to go ahead and put up some of your. I guess we're calling this your classics. Oh, let me do a slideshow. That was a key press thing. Here we go. It's just going to be your loop, so we can kind of play these in the background as we talk. But let's talk a little bit about you and me. We met. How long ago was this now?
You were like 6?
About 6. No,
it just seems like that.
I was probably like 18, 19 when you guys started sportshooter.com.
Yes.
And I'm actually going to bring that up because that's more relevant to what we're talking right now. But this is sportshooter.com, which is still a pretty basic website.
Yes.
But it still does everything that it did back 10, 12 years ago.
13
years ago when you guys started it. This is sort of a pre-Facebook of
This
sorts.
was a revolutionary website at the time that I started. I was partners with Grover Sanchagrin and Jason Burfield and Robert Hanashiro and Joe Gosen that launched in June of 2002. And basically it was Grover's idea. He says, we're going to create an online community for sports photographers, and it's going to be a living, breathing website community. And this was before Facebook, before blogs, before Twitter, before most photographers even had their own websites. This way they could have a member page and show off their work and communicate with each other.
And there were the message boards, which used to be really popular.
And sometimes completely out of control.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but very humorous.
Very humorous.
We watched many careers crash and burn before our eyes.
There were some really serious crashing and burning situations. You guys,
and we watched you grow up in front of our eyes.
Well, it's true. It is true. I would post photos in these things, but for instance, you guys sort of started the like. So I mean, the Facebook started using the like button, but on these message board posts, you guys introduced informative, funny, off topic, inappropriate, to kind of help sort of police the kind of things that were being said, so that members could understand the reaction that their posts were creating. Like, is this really a topic that we should be talking about in a sports talk?
Sometimes it works, sometimes
it works, sometimes it was just kind of a silly thing that we did. But anyways, I just want to give a shout to Sport Shooter, because that's where I, as a youngster, really made all my first original contacts.
If it wasn't for sportshooter.com, you might be still making chicken wings in your mom's restaurant in Athens, Ohio.
Oh, snap.
Really? Did I say that?
Chicken. That's ridiculous. Okay, so it's actually kind of true though, because I mean, you guys also, as part of this Sport Shooter Sport Shooter community that you guys built, you also had, and I'm gonna have to go into your old indexes here, workshops, luau's, that you guys hosted in California. And of course, these aren't the best photos to be showing of you, but everybody would kind of show up, and these are just fun pics from it. I should probably, there I am. Okay,
there you are.
There I am.
You are blowing up an inflatable palm tree with Paul Clapp. Now,
look at those sideburns, by the way.
Look at you. You're just young and just,
what can I say?
Eager to impress.
I was eager to
us
impress.
Veterans.
Not only that, we have this photo, which I will bring up. This is
wow.
Bert Hanashiro wanted to be brought in to his opening reception on a surfboard. And
yes,
being
of course.
The young, eager.
You were all too excited to join our good friend Max Morris and Paul Clapp.
Sorry, Max and Paul, for bringing this one back up, but it's got to be shared.
It's got to be shared. It's fabulous.
Well, anyway, so there's that. Let me get back to your photos here. So that's how we originally met. We met through there. I actually can remember the first time you called me. I was shooting an Ohio University basketball game at the Convo, and I get a call from some number in California, and I go rush inside to answer it, and it's you telling me to pay my fee, because I haven't paid my fee yet.
Oh, wow.
To get me started on this. I just signed up, and I was excited because I didn't know exactly who you were then, but when I looked up who you were, I was like, oh my God. I was just so excited because, great sports photographers actually took the time to call me, and this is obviously
I wanted your $25.
You wanted my $25, so you guys could make some more like T-shirts and products and stuff that, right? Yeah, and then I ended up going to the workshop, which was actually my first workshop experience, which is kind of a random workshop with all you had to wear luau shirts, or what do you call them? Hawaiian shirts.
We had over 400 people there, and it was pretty incredible.
Yeah. Have you been doing workshops? I mean, since then. I mean, you spoke at the workshop, or were you there more as in a capacity?
I spoke at a couple of them. I mean, we did several of them down in the Los Angeles area. I mean, they all kind of run together because they were so long ago.
Right. Yeah.
They were a lot of fun.
That's true. And, I remember I actually met Vince LaFerre at the workshop. He ended up critiquing portfolios and everything. And that's honestly, how a lot of my big relationships started was through this workshop. So it just goes to show,
because you were just in Ohio then, you hadn't branched out and done all your internships yet.
Absolutely. So I can trace, if it wasn't for Vince, I probably wouldn't. Well, who knows? I might be in New York, but
you'd be making chicken wings at your mom's restaurant in Athens, Ohio.
Garlic extra hot, blue cheese. So anywho. So that's how we met. I want to talk a little bit about how you started in this world of photography. Like, a lot of people are seeing these photos, seeing the access that you have to sporting events and the kind of skill. Where did it start?
Basically, I was very fortunate in high school to have a fabulous photography teacher, Paul Ficken, at Washington High School in Fremont, California, which is a East Bay area city right in between San Jose and Oakland, where I grew up. My best friend, Joe Gosen, who has been a newspaper photographer, a college professor at Brooks Institute, and is now at Western Washington University. He had taken photography classes from Mr. Ficken and told me that I would really like it. So my second semester of my junior year of high school, I took a basic photo class and just fell in love with it. And that summer, I had saved up money to buy a used car, and instead I bought a Canon 8E1 program and a 50 millimeter lens, and for $249 at San Jose Camera. That was June of 1982, and I really dove headfirst into photography. My senior year, took a lot of photo classes, worked on the yearbook, and me and Joe together decided we wanted to study photojournalism, and we were very fortunate that San Jose State at the time had an incredible, one of the top 5 photojournalism programs in the country. But first we went to junior college in our city in Fremont, where they had good photojournalism, worked for the paper there, and then transferred to San Jose State as juniors, did the whole photojournalism thing. Back then in the 80s, the only real path was, newspapers were a great viable job to have. They were fabulous. And we interned at newspapers, got jobs at newspapers, and that's what I did in the Bay Area at the Contra Costa Times in Walnut Creek. And my first big opportunity was going to the Eddie Adams workshop.
Oh, yeah.
And
So
in 1989, I went to the second workshop. My buddy Joe got in the first workshop. I did not get accepted to the first one.
So you submitted but didn't get accepted.
Extremely bitter.
Do you?
I drove Joe to the airport so he could go to the first one, and I wasn't able to go.
First is the worst, second is the best.
Yeah, it was incredible, and I never forget. On stage, Eddie told everyone that this workshop will accelerate your career by 5 years. Meeting everyone and being around these people, and 9 months later, at the age of 25, I was hired by Neil Leifer to be a staff photographer in the Bay Area for the National Sports Daily, which was a daily sports newspaper in 1990 that lasted all of 18 months. But it was the greatest staff job I ever had.
And a great mentor.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
We're trying to work out. I just spoke with Neil the other day. We're trying to get him on the podcast, and hopefully that'll line up at some point soon. What did you learn from the likes of Neil? So you talk about you got into photography as a student. You obviously learned technique and whatnot to how to develop and generally shoot in school. You got the practice working for some local papers and stuff. But when was it that do you feel that maybe like working for someone like Neil, learning from him was the best experience you could have had? What was the?
It just was all part of the progress. I mean, the best thing for me early on was those early internships at the Contra Costa Times, and then being hired there. I really lucked out. I worked with a great group of photographers in 1987 who are still my dear friends today. Guys that took me on ride-alongs, took me to my first baseball games, people that helped me learn how to edit and choose pictures and learn that newspaper camaraderie in the dark room and around the light table, and shooting lots of Little League games on Tri-X film and high school games. And that's where my portfolio that Neil hired me based on, it was 30 pictures, 20 of them were black and white high school and Little League pictures. Uh-huh. And he was like, I don't care if it's pro or whatever. A great picture is a great picture. And that's the truth. And that's what I always tell young kids today. It's like everyone wants to shoot the pro game. And it's like, man, a great picture is a great picture. And you can make better pictures at the high school and youth events.
You get better access.
Better faces, better emotion. You can shoot those 5 o'clock games. You can cherry pick what games you want, where the parks are, where the light is, and make pictures. And that's how Neil hired me. Because if as a photographer you can see pictures and make pictures, that's half the battle.
I'm going to put up also some your Sports Illustrated work that'll go by so you can see so that folks can see how your pictures have been published over the years, which has morphed in the recent years from being in print, traditional print, to, as you'll see in the coming slides, some of the digital versions, right? Because now they have what's it called? Leading off. The leading off section is now more of a digital thing, right? They still have
but everything I'm showing here is from the print.
Oh, okay,
version.
sorry.
This
I
is
saw
all
a couple slides.
This
Okay.
is all from the print version.
How many covers do you have now?
9, but I haven't had one in 8 years. So I'm in
really?
a long slump.
Man.
Just a little bit bitter about that.
Well, I mean, I think that a lot can be said about it's an interesting topic that I think that we should get into, which is sports photography in general, the business of sports photography, and sort of where it's been going lately. You've been a sports photographer for years and years and years now. You've seen the heyday of how to make money in stock photos, how to work with these, Sports Illustrated that used to have budget and also used to have a terrific staff
Right.
of photographers. And now we're kind of, I've kind of moved out of the sports. I used to be a sports photographer, and that's how we met. But it's kind of morphed into this world of they can get the photos cheaper through agencies, it seems.
Right.
And how do you feel about that, Brad?
It's a problem. It's a big problem. It's a changing world, and things are different. I'm of a certain age where I've lived and seen through the real shift. Back when I started, you had to manual focus and you had to shoot slide film, and that was not very easy to do. And if I shot a game for Sports Illustrated, by the time I started shooting for SI, autofocus had come into play, and it was fabulous. But you had to shoot slide film. You had to have that handheld meter. You had to know that light, it's 1004 plus 1 plus 1.5 plus 1 1/3 minus 1/3. You had to know, here comes a cloud. What am I doing? And you're spotting off a grass, and you got a cloud for every other pitch. And you're putting raw film, for me, on United Flight 78 from SFO to Newark, shipping to Bob Ryan, our courier. And then you call your editor the next morning and hope, how'd that plate-to-plate look? And you're hoping that you're not like a half a stop too dark or too hot or whatever, because they really couldn't help you back then. And it's scary. You had to know the light. You had to know how to nail your chromes. And it was very difficult because they couldn't really pick up from the wires or the newspapers, because they were shooting color negative film, which back then looked horrible in the magazine, or early bad digital cameras in the mid-90s, which couldn't reproduce in the magazine. So we were shooting slide film. They needed slide film for the magazine. So my film, or any SI staffer's film, getting on that plane, making it to the Time Life lab here, that stuff was going to run, and it was going to be special, and it was going to look dynamite in the magazine. Well, come about 2003, SI switched to digital when the Canon 1D came out, and they decided that was the first camera that they thought produced a big enough raw file that looked good enough to reproduce double truck in the magazine. They shut down the Time Life lab. We had to shoot digital, and now we're all using the same cameras, so our files don't look better than anyone else's. And suddenly, with the internet and distribution, there's a lot of pictures out there from all these sporting events, and a lot of them are available extremely cheap and plentiful. And as magazines go through, advertising declines that are just incredibly huge, and struggling financially and looking at budgets, certain people don't want to spend money sending photographers out to a game when they can use a wire picture for $50. And, it might not be that special, but do the readers really care? And I don't know. And it's very sad. And the bottom line is there are very few people out there that are willing to, and this is the whole thing in a very simple nutshell. There are very few people out there who are willing to pay for special original content.
Right.
And that was SI. We're going to pay you for something special that no one else is going to have. And, they still have the great writers. I mean, when they have Tom Verducci write a cover story on a baseball player, that's special original content. But when they pick up a wire picture, that ain't so special. It might be a wonderful picture shot by a wonderful photographer, but it's been published all over the place. And it's just kind of a sad reality of where we are right now.
So what is the future? I mean, right now we're looking through a gallery of your first book, and as we continue to talk, I'm going to go through you have 3 total championship books.
The Giants won the World Series in 2010, 12, and 14.
And right now we're looking at 2010. Obviously that means that it's difficult to be a sports photographer and make a living, especially if you're only a sports photographer.
Yes, it is.
Like you are, and many of your peers and our friends are.
Not many anymore.
Not
unfortunately.
Right. Exactly. So what is it? I mean, the cream obviously has to rise to the top. Obviously, you've got a thick cream. Okay, that didn't sound good.
Talking about my hair?
Yeah, sure, your hair. But no, obviously the cream rises to the top. You got to figure out new business models and everything. And you've put out a book. What can you tell me sort of the process of figuring out, that model, and is this how you now sustain yourself? Is it through book sales?
No, you don't get like there are people that have done really well recently. Self-publishing books when they're not on a deadline crunch, where you can do crowdfunding and generate cash flow before the book and take your time and self-publish and stuff like our friend Warren Winter does,
right?
And Warren Wimmer does, and that's a great model that works for some things. When you're doing a book like I'm doing, that doesn't work because you don't have the time in the off season. You have to crank stuff out immediately, get the files to China, get it printed beautifully, get it back in time for opening day. Luckily, I have a great publisher in the Bay Area that's able to do this, and I don't have to spend a dime, and I make profits but I have a writing partner,
right,
which is I need, and we're 50-50 partners,
right,
so I don't get 100% of the residuals. I get half. You don't get rich. It's a lot of fun. It's a great promo piece. Books are difficult. I consider myself incredibly lucky. There are very few photographers that can have a book made that's this big. I have to open up to just give you an idea.
To give you, these are like, how big is the book?
It's 11 by 14, and it's incredibly heavy and thick and beautiful. And, I have pictures that are 28 inches across.
That's amazing.
And it's beautiful. And we're making it look,
yeah, we got it.
And I didn't spend a dime. I didn't have to front this. I don't have any money to spend to front this.
Right.
I'm not.
So how does one let's say a photographer would like to start getting into, they've got a package of photos that could make a good book or an idea. How did you pitch it? How did you make it happen?
Here's the thing. You got to realize I'm not a rocket scientist, but I'm not a dummy. The damn team that sold out 350 straight games in a very well-to-do place like San Francisco wins the World Series, people are going to buy the book.
Right. That's true. I mean, there's going to be
the team fans. Doesn't win the World Series. All these pictures go in the trash can. They never get seen. Nobody cares.
So do you work closely with the team on this?
No.
No.
The first book we did with the team because they were not organized enough to do their own book. So we did the official book the first year. The next 2 are on our own. You do something about a team that wins a championship, and we do book events. They're lined up around the block. They pack the building.
Oh, wow.
They all we did the Lawrence Livermore Lab 2 weeks ago. They bought 300 books. They packed the auditorium. These are people that make bombs and stuff, and they're all wearing Giants gear, and we were there for 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
It was incredible because they're Giants fans.
Right.
If I was there with a book of Brad Mangin's greatest hits, well, first of all, they wouldn't have invited me, and nobody cares.
Well, we invite you, and we care.
You would, but commercially, for a publisher to invest money to print a book like this in China, it's expensive. They got to know they're going to get a return. So they're not going to print a book of just my pictures.
Right.
But they know that it's going to sell because the team won. And we've been through this 3 times. That's the magic.
Is it
thing.
getting better each year too?
The book is way better. Yeah, the book.
Well, the book is,
but
I mean, like in terms of the fluidity of the process, sales.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, the best sales were year 1. You got to realize when they won in 2010, they hadn't won a World Series since 1954, and they'd never won one in San Francisco. So it was huge. It was insane, and we never thought they'd win another one. So that was crazy. The book was also only $25. This book is $50. But it gets to the point where for this, I don't really care how many they sell. They're going to sell out, and that'll probably be it. Then it'll be a collectible. But for me, I got an amazing book.
Right.
I made some money. Didn't cost me a dime.
Yeah.
I got what I wanted out of it, and I didn't have to beg my friends to pay for it. I didn't have to mortgage my house to pay for it, and I'm incredibly lucky. That's a very special type of thing to have the team win. The Giants barely won. They got lucky. They win in the World Series in 7 games. If they lose, it's a moot point.
That's true. And so it's like you're almost, you financially benefit from them winning. Although, so as a sports photographer in general, you also make money, whether you're shooting for like Major League Baseball or Sports Illustrated or whoever else, regardless of who's in the playoffs and who's in the World Series.
But as a photographer, depending on where you live and work, you go through cycles, and you all make money depending on, like, if you happen to be working in a town where there's a great young player who's going to be there for a number of years, you make money because, like, there are New York photographers who cashed in on Derek Jeter for years.
And A-Rod.
And A-Rod. Well, not so much A-Rod, but Jeter.
Right.
Jeter was just gold.
Right.
And, there's certain photographers that are able to do well. When the Giants do well, I sell more pictures of Buster Posey and some of their good players. So and things go in cycles, and that's everywhere around the country, depending on if you're in a bad market where there's bad teams and no stars, you're not going to sell as many pictures, and you're not going to get as many assignments because nobody cares about your team.
Right.
And that's just bad. That's bad luck.
Right. One of the things that you've done very well, and I would like to take some credit for it, is your Instagram. I know that others have told you to get on Instagram over the years, but I was one of those people.
Yes, you were.
That was telling you to get onto Instagram back in the day. And this is the book that we were talking about. And just holding up, but your Instant Baseball, where basically this in 2000. Was this your first book?
No, it's my second book.
Okay, so this was in then like 2011 or so, maybe.
Well, I shot the pictures in 2012. The book came out in 2013.
And you shot everything on your iPhone.
Everything on my iPhone 4S, which was the best phone at the time.
At the time, now you're up to the 6 Plus.
6 Plus,
yeah,
yes,
like the big one. But can you describe the experience changing? Because as most people know, shooting sports, you're using, I believe you use like big 1Ds with huge lenses, 400, 600 millimeter lenses and converters, and it's a heavy, massive thing.
Right.
Changing that or accompanying that with a second camera, that being your phone, and you get close to these guys, do you feel like, how is your interaction with these people when you're with your phone versus a big camera?
It's kind of the same. I mean, I've been shooting guys in the dugout for years with my regular cameras, and editors have liked the stuff, just not many of the pictures have been published. So I just started shooting them with my phone at the same time, but these pictures got published in the book and in Sports Illustrated and in elsewhere. So it was just kind of another thing that I was able to do to help illustrate the game of baseball. And what I really love is with Instagram, the social media aspect. I'm at a game, I shoot a picture, and I want to share it immediately, and I'm able to self-publish to thousands of people all over the world. I can't wait to find a shady spot, which is usually like a dugout, and crop and tone the picture. Am I going to make a color or black and white? And I feel like I'm a wire service guy on deadline, and I'm trying to type a good caption and
so when you shoot
publish and it goes out, and I love that. It's this is happening right now before the game.
So okay, a couple questions. So when you shoot a photo, you're right there and then editing it up, taking the time to do that? Or
Usually, if I have time.
if you have time, because obviously if there's a bunch going on, you got to cover.
Well, usually it's pregame, but usually it's all pregame.
Oh, okay.
During the game, you can't shoot action, so usually the dugout stuff and everything is pregame,
Right.
And the featurey stuff.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, what really put your Instagrams on the map was when Sports Illustrated ran a leading off.
They ran a leading
Three
off,
pages.
all 3 pages,
All
a
3
leading
pages.
off in mid-season. Yeah, Nate Gordon, who was our baseball editor
Nate's
then, really pushed and fought for it. So did Steve Fine, who was our director then. And they were super supportive of me doing the Instagrams. And
I feel like that was one of the first very mainstream sort of usage of
it was. I mean,
Instagram
there were
photos.
people doing. There were incredible. There were war photographers and people doing great iPhone work, but a major national glossy news weekly had not devoted that much space to iPhone photography and
Right.
Instagram. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was really thrilled when I saw that. Now, so did you submit them to them in hopes that they would do this? Did Nate Gordon at SI see these as they were coming through your feed and think, hey, we should do something? Was there, I'm sorry, this is a loaded question, and was there any kind of was it Nate thinking, oh, well, you're on assignment for us, why aren't you sending these to us instead of, you know what I mean?
No, well, it was quite the opposite. I started shooting the pictures in spring training, and I just loved them, and I would send them to Nate. I said, hey, this stuff is really cool. I think there's something here. We need to. It's just spring training, but once I go back north for the regular season, I keep doing it. I think we can get something together for the magazine. And he liked it, and he said, yeah, or maybe for the iPad version. I said, no, I want this, this has got to get seen. He said, well, keep shooting, and he would coach me. And then I was also hammering him, SI needs to start an Instagram account because he didn't have one.
Right.
And so, but it's very political, and there's all these departments and people that were fighting over who gets to do what. And so we eventually started the Instagram account, so I would feed them pictures, and I kept shooting the iPhone stuff until there was this dead week between right before the London Olympics where there was nothing really to populate leading off that week, and so it really fit.
It was just a perfect time, perfect place, sort of situation.
Exactly. So I was thrilled.
That's awesome. And also your Instagram accounts become very popular, especially amongst Bay Area, I would imagine.
A lot of Giants fans.
A lot of Giants fans on there.
Yeah.
And is it obviously you've been able to capitalize a bit on it with the book. Mm-hmm. Has there been any other opportunity other than just straight up promotion through getting your name out there on the Instagram front?
It's been fun. I've been doing some stuff with some of the Apple iPhone PR people. We've done some stuff together.
That's right. You just recently did an ad, didn't you?
Well, that was well, I didn't do the ad. They licensed one of my images for an ad.
So all around New York City here, I should say, it's a big thing. There are these shot on an iPhone 6 photo or advertising campaign going on, and it says shot by whoever at the bottom of it. Basically, they did this for you. Was it only? And they did it on the back page of a Sports Illustrated, right?
Right. It was a special licensing agreement. They just licensed it for the back of SI for that one time.
Okay.
They didn't do any of the billboards or anything.
But it was part of this big campaign.
Part of the campaign. Part of the
this
shot
campaign.
on iPhone 6 campaign.
And was it a surprise to you when they reached out to you?
Why don't we show it?
Oh, yeah. Where is that shot? Do you know?
Or go to my blog.
Oh, it's on your blog. Okay. So we have photographer Brad Mangin. Do you have your blog off of here?
Or you have... you had...
Mangin Photography.
Archive. Click here.
Archive. There it is. Okay, so we're pulling it up right now. It takes a second. Okay, so this was actually the iPhone photo you took.
Well, this is the ad.
This is the ad, but the photo here was taken. Scrolling down. Sorry.
That's the Instagram.
Oh, okay, so they saw the Instagram come through.
I shot the Instagram. This is a JV high school football player on the day the iPhone 6 came out, and I had hashtagged it iPhone 6 Plus, and the ad agency in Los Angeles just organically found the picture.
Wow, because you hashtagged it.
Yeah.
Those hashtags really mean something.
go.
That's incredible. And so then they ended up...
Then they contacted me at the end of February said they were interested in using this picture, and I had to track down the kid and get model releases signed and all that kind of stuff.
I bet he was thrilled.
Yeah, he's a knucklehead kid. He's a nice kid, and I talked with his dad and had to get it all legal and stuff. But it's pretty neat.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. And
Yeah.
I bet that paid for your phone, or 2 or 3 or
Sure,
10, hopefully. Hopefully
sure.
a bunch.
Sure.
And I should also mention on here, now that we're here, you have your photography website, portfolio, manginphotography.com.
Yes.
You also have your blog, which is manginphotography.net.
Yes.
It's a little bit different. So on a regular basis, you on your blog will post goings-ons.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of.
Our internet's is not working very well right now.
There we go.
Oh, and I clicked on something, of course. But oops, did it again. But anyways, you have all sorts of really great content. I'm sorry, Brad. Click on home. But see, I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, so manginphotography.net to see all of his blog posts, his portfolio, and he has amazing archives too. Are those searchable for anybody to look through?
Yes, I have. I couldn't do my business without Photo Shelter.
Photo Shelter. They're another great supporter of what we do here.
Yeah, and I've been with them since the beginning, and because I've been doing what I do for a long time, and I fight for my copyright and advise everyone to fight for their images, I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money captioning my stuff, and also paying to have all my old slides scanned and caption them. And I have over 80,000 images.
This is just Derek Jeter. We pulled up. I just typed in Jeter into your search,
what,
and you
500.
And so page 1 of 24, and each page has I don't know how many, like 20 or 25 photos.
And if you go back,
you can
to
what? So we're going into his keywords, and you can actually like really be very specific in what you want to find. If you
I just typed in Jeter 1998, and there's these are all slide. These are all nicely captioned.
Nicely captioned. So that's something that a lot of people don't do very well, and I'm totally am awful at it. Captioning your photos.
Yes.
And I use. I should mention for my website, and maybe I should pull up my website too on here. But Robert Kaplan. I also am a big user of Photo Shelter. So this is just my main splash page, but if you go to my portfolio, they have a new Beam platform.
Oh, right.
Which I utilize now because it's very clean. It works on mobile. It's super slick, and then also you can all these photos that are being displayed are archived full res on servers. Dual coasts,
Right.
very secure. And I use Photo Shelter, and as I'm sure you do, to upload all of my photos, to back them up, make sure that they're secure,
Yep.
to deliver them to clients, password-protected galleries, watermarked galleries. You can see what IP address downloads them. I actually, my iPhone and Apple Watch even come up, a little alert comes up when people download photos from my archives, so you're very aware with
Right.
who's doing what.
Right,
In
right,
fact,
right.
that's how you sent me all of these galleries that
Yes.
that we're looking at today. You just sent me download links.
Right.
So that's our plug for Photo Shelter. They're photoshelter.com, and I believe there's a promo code Photo Brigade, which might get you a discount and a free trial. I'm not sure if that's up to date, but check it out, photoshelter.com. Okay, so we were going through your iPhone baseball. We like as I do. You have kitties.
Yes, I do.
I have a cat.
Your cat's name is Chicken.
My cat's name's Chicken, and you have.
I have Mike. This is Mike, and then I have his sister Willie. Willie's a girl. I adopted them from the San Francisco SPCA 4 years ago, and the big thing that I always talk about them is when I got my first iPhone, it was in the winter when I didn't have much to shoot, and I wanted to start learning how to use the iPhone and Instagram. So I practiced with my cat. So my first early Instagrams were pictures of Mike and Willie, and that's how I really learned to goof around. And I still shoot them, although It's been a while. I haven't done one in like
And
a
so
month.
that right there is your brand, but that's on a what do you call
That's
it?
an on-deck circle.
An
in
on
my
deck
office.
circle. So
Yes.
you are really obsessed with baseball. Like
I'm a baseball guy.
baseball guy.
You can't fake that.
You can't fake that. I remember seeing on Facebook how you have like your old tickets that you would actually.
I have all my ticket stubs from when I was a kid.
when you were a kid, and you would write the plays or things.
I'd write who took me to the game. My dad took me to the game. How many people were there? Who homered? Who won?
That's really special. Have you ever? So you're so detail oriented with your photos, or excuse me, with your captions and things. Have you ever done anything with those tickets? Like made a scrapbook or
Not
digitally
yet.
made
No,
them up?
they're all in a jar.
It seems like that might be a fun project to do. But as everybody, cats
You
are.
stopped the slideshow.
I wasn't
cats?
sure. I wasn't sure if I'd repeated it or not.
No, you hadn't.
You hadn't. Where was I? The yawn photo, the traditional yawn photo. So anyways, the cats are always great for Instagram. My photos of my cat always seem to get more likes than just my other photos elsewhere. So another subject that you covered pretty in depth, being in the Bay Area, is Mr. Barry Bonds.
Yes.
Did you have any kind of relationship with him other than not like Deanna?
I'm not a portrait guy, and I just covered him doing what he did, and it was a lot of fun because it was a lot of work, a lot of assignments. It was very cool. It was, he is what he is, and he was never the nicest guy to people. But
Why does he look so much smaller in the old days?
yeah. It's kind of funny how that works.
Do you? I mean, you having shot baseball. Obviously Barry Bonds is now known more than for his skills in baseball, for his steroid use, allegedly. Did you feel that you noticed the growth of these people having covered this?
Yeah.
Was it obvious to you, like, what is happening here with this guy?
Yeah. I mean, it's like.
But it didn't really blow up.
I could care less. It's like because everyone was doing it, and pitchers and guys, and it's like
You're just a lover of the game. Well, do you?
But I'm also very cynical, and so I'm not someone who is upset or saddened by it.
As a lover of the sport, are you at all?
No.
No.
I could just because I also see all the dirty stuff.
You think everyone's got something, huh?
I mean, it's guys did amphetamine. I mean, there's the amphetamine problem was extremely bad, and that's been cleaned up, and it's it is what it is. I'm not a holier than thou guy. Everyone's got their stuff. Bonds is a bad guy, did bad things, but he wasn't the only one.
Right.
He just gets singled out because he was
at the top,
incredibly
yeah.
mean guy who treated people like garbage.
So I remember seeing you at this point, like when he was going to have his record. I was out shooting for the Times at one point, and he came to Philadelphia or something like that.
He came to Philly when he was close.
Yeah, when he was close, and so Times had sent me to Philadelphia, and I got to see the whole crew, and it was like going to a golfing match, and everyone just covering Tiger Woods, or everyone was really there strictly for Barry Bonds. Let's see here, you got another dugout series, so you spend a lot of time shooting in the dugouts as well.
Yeah, we do. I love doing. Sometimes I shoot a game and I could care less about the action, but it's the pregame dugout stuff, documenting guys. We're able to do stuff in Oakland. This is in Oakland. Oakland's the only park in baseball that doesn't have a fence in front of the dugout, so we can just sit on the dugout steps and pretty much get away with murder doing really cool stuff that if you did at Yankee Stadium, you would be shot and then hauled off to jail because you just can't do that here in New York. But in Oakland, and look at this, guys are posing, guys are having fun.
Everything's more laid back on the West Coast.
Yes, it is.
Indeed.
Yes, it is. And the security guard is our friend, and it's like, guys, this is before a game. This is 5 minutes before a game.
And at this point, you've also basically shot at every stadium by now, right?
Mostly. Not every
Are there
one,
other ones that you're still wishing to hit?
Believe it or not, I have not been to Wrigley Field yet. That's one that I need to get to soon. That's one of the only ones that are really...
I feel like West Coasters don't make it to Middle America as much or something. Like, I don't make it to Chicago very often, but West Coast, East Coast.
Yeah.
but that in between area.
Yeah, well, I do the World Series every year for Major League Baseball. That gets me around to a lot of the parks, but of course the Cubs haven't been in the World Series. So
Right.
That's that's
So
been an issue.
so let's. I'm gonna go ahead and again put your classics into a loop here for everybody. But so out at Oakland, background on sort of sports photography. Each team has like a team photographer.
Yes.
In Oakland, Zagaris.
Michael
right?
Zagaris.
Michael Zagaris, who's a good friend of yours.
Yes.
I've only met him once. Had dinner with I think a big group of people, and he was involved. He's super. He's a legend. He's himself.
Yes, he is.
A former rock photographer
Rock and roll, yes.
turned sports photographer.
But he still does some rock and roll a little bit. But he just turned 70 this past spring training.
70. Oh
Yes.
my goodness, I didn't realize that.
He's coming out to New York next week. We're going to Cooperstown together, and he lives in the Haight-Ashbury. He's a beauty. He's a one of a kind. I tell people he's Forrest Gump. He played football at George Washington University in D.C. He was an intern speechwriter for Bobby Kennedy. He was in the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel when Bobby was assassinated.
Oh wow.
He was in law school at Santa Clara University at the time, and he had a law final the next morning. Flew back home to Santa Clara, filled up a bunch of blue books of how America was screwed up country because it's killing all its leaders. Dropped out, has not written a check since. Just doesn't want to be a part of the system, and did every drug imaginable at the time. Traveled with all the bands.
We've got
the
that on
Stones,
record now. Yeah.
everybody, and he's just the best guy ever. And his relationships with the players. He's been with the A's since 1981, with the Niners since '79, and he's one of the true icons in this country, and a tremendous joy to work with every day.
It seems to me, okay, so there are folks that are freelancers like you, and it's difficult to be a freelancer in the sports industry these days. But then there are the team photographers like Michael, and there's other ones around L.A. and all the teams have them. Is that a position that you've ever wanted to obtain, or do you really prefer having kind of your own schedule and doing?
No,
your own
I mean,
thing?
every team deal is different. A lot of them are horrible. The team owns everything. They pay you next to nothing. The older guys that have been in place for a long time own their stuff, like Z. Guys that have been smart and been doing it a long time. A lot of the newer gigs around the league, teams have hired younger folks, and they don't pay real well, and they own everything, and it's not big league teams spend hundreds of millions of dollars on payroll, and they are incredibly cheap with their employees.
Right.
They pay horrifically bad, but you get the thrill of coming to the ballpark every day for work, and they just get you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
awful.
Right. I mean, any job where you're full time, it's.
But this is worse.
This is worse.
Trust me, it's awful.
Right. No, I can
It's like
understand.
worse than a small newspaper salary.
And then also when it's not all glam and glamorous jobs. Yeah, you get to be around these people, but you're also shooting a lot of not action.
Well, a team photographer job, a huge part of it is shooting all the corporate stuff and going up in the suites and shooting all the guests and shooting all the grip and grins and the pregame stuff and the anthems and the first pitch and the advertising and the signage. And yeah, it's not just the ball game stuff. That's
Yeah.
a small part of it.
So I'm looking back at all these photos here. There are a lot of memorable sports moments. And do you have any that really stick out to you as like, man, I can't like, for instance, I had Barton Silverman on recently, and his thing, he's covered, I forget what it was, like 2 perfect, I forget the number of it. So 3 perfect games, two what's the other game? 2 no hitters, 2 3 triple crowns, and this, that, and the other. Is there anything like that you look back on and think this was something I'll always remember as one of my most special?
There's a lot of different things. Since we're in New York, one thing I always talk about is the 2001 World Series, Yankees, Diamondbacks, right after 9/11. Was an incredible World Series that unfortunately for Yankee fans, they lost in Game 7 in Phoenix. But during the middle 3 games here in New York, there was an incredible stretch of games, and Derek Jeter famously won. I think it was Game 4. The famous Derek Jeter walk-off Mr. November game when he hit the walk-off home run in the bottom of the 10th inning, I believe it was, to win the game to right field. And because of September 11th, the whole postseason was delayed a week, and the game ended after midnight. The game started on Halloween, but after midnight it became November. So Reggie Jackson was always Mr. October. Jeter homered, became Mr. November, and I was at third base, shooting next to my good friend Robert Seal, and Jeter hits the home run, and the old Yankee Stadium just, that place just, it was bananas, and the place shook and the ground shook. And I remember telling Seal, just remember this. You will never forget. This is like one of the greatest moments ever. And it was just, and when you look back in time, and it was Jeter, it was amazing. That's what, and I have crappy pictures. I ran out of film. Out of film.
Oh no!
As he was rounding the bases, pumping his fist.
Couldn't you
my Fuji 800 neg push to stop? I ran out of film.
You couldn't just delete a couple files?
No,
oh, okay.
I ran out of film. So I have the swing, but the swing was kind of useless.
So that's another thing we should talk about. The change. Well, we did touch on that earlier, but just technically, shooting, nowadays versus back then. Do you miss? I mean, I always ask this question, but do you miss the days of film? Do you miss the days?
I miss editing slides on a light table. That was fun. There was a real art to it. I mean, it's the typical old guy response. There was a real art to shooting slide film. Boy, you had to know what the hell you were doing. You had to really nail it. It's all the pressure's gone when you're at a game and you're shooting digital, and you're looking, if you have the picture or not. When you're shooting slide film, I can remember, you're shooting, especially daytime, and you're shooting and the light's bad, and because it's harsh, it's contrasty, and you have a manual exposure of something, and then there's a collision or a plate to plate, and that's a picture, but you don't know, did their heads come up and go from shadow to sun? So I would immediately pull that roll, and I'm not a super organized guy. I'd pull that roll of film, pull my keys out of my pocket, and I'd scratch that roll of film, throw it in the bag with the others, and try and see the replay as many times as I can. This was before replays were on phones. Of course, there were no phones, and see, did his head come up? So I shot it at 1,004. Am I going to run it at +1, +0.5, +1/3, normal?
Oh, man.
To expose, so that I would bag that roll of film separate. All the other normal film, I was usually at +1 or +1 1/3. And, because that play has to be nailed.
That is just...
Because it's chrome, and it's got to be perfect. And you got to know. And then you go to the airport and you put the film on the plane, and you
And then
just
do you
don't
see it?
know.
Do you ever see it again?
You get the outtakes back.
Just the outtakes.
The outtakes.
So the actual good slides, they keep.
You own them, but you want them. You always wanted them to keep some selects because those were in the files, and they use them every time they use them. They have to pay you.
Right.
But now you know what you have instantly.
Right.
And it's incredibly easy. You shoot RAW, and I mean, I still shoot. My exposures are still anally perfect because I'm an old Chrome guy. We shoot RAW plus JPEG, but my entire archive, searchable archive, is RAWs. They look like Chromes because of my old film days. I just am.
This is the way you tone.
No, they're RAW files. They're
raw files. You said they look like Chrome.
They look like Chrome because you had to nail your Chrome exposures because you have to. When you shot Chrome, you had to be perfect.
So you actually all your archives on Photo Shelter are RAWs?
Yep.
Wow.
Because that's what people want.
That's incredible.
You can make conversions from them, and that's.
You had a photo on a Coke can, huh?
Yeah. How about that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. That would not be legal today, but because the NFL and everyone would sue me and that was 15 years ago, and you could kind of get away with stuff. A friend of mine who designed my logo worked for a design company that was doing a project for Coke, and he said, "Hey, send me some football pictures. We need And that's Steve Young, but he doesn't know it. And so, anyway.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's a cool clip. I bet you have a few of those, like 6-packs.
Yes,
or
I
something.
do. Only a few of them exploded. And, like,
Got to keep them at perfect temperature so
Yes.
they don't explode.
Yes.
All right. Well, we've kind of gone through all of these galleries. What do you say to students that want to? Well, what do you think is going to be the future? I mean, you were kind of at the forefront of technology with Sports Shooter, right? You're getting adjusted with the phone, doing really great things. You seem to be at sort of the forefront. Do you see something new coming? I know I just got you to get onto Snapchat, right?
I still don't understand it, but yeah. I'm trying. I need to try.
I mean, I have a feeling that Snapchat would be a good way to share stories at games. Although I would be a little worried about them and MLB.
Although MLB just announced MLB just signed a deal with Snapchat to like join forces for content. Like the old people on Park Avenue are finally like understanding that they need to reach people that are under the age of 60, which is kind of nice because they've abandoned the youth people. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is if things keep going the way they are, I'll be homeless very soon. So I need to figure something out.
Do you think that you might need to? I mean, that's a good point. I mean, do you have Plan B? Like, what if?
No. I'm just winging it. I'm going to do it as long as I can, and it's not pretty.
I mean, just recently on
the bills keep coming, and
the residual sales.
I had
down.
American Express call me the other day, like, you owe us a lot of money, and I think, I can't pay my bill because the client owes me a lot of money, and that payment's not going to come till May 26th, so can you please hold? So I made a partial payment. I'm upfront and honest, guys. I made a partial payment on my American Express card, and
it's to that point.
And because this was expenses from spring training that I couldn't cover, but I got a client paying me on.
Okay, so so you go to spring training all the time, and that's on your dime.
Well, no, this was for Sports Illustrated, but I wasn't working for them the whole time, so I paid for some of it, and
right,
because I did all this Instagram stuff that I wanted to do, and it's.
Are you finding yourself pitching to them a lot now, like this Instagram stuff? Did they call?
No,
you?
they don't. Their Instagram account's just a disaster right now. So they have PR people running bad videos and stuff. So they don't really care.
I actually did shoot something for SI, and they wanted it for Instagram, and they ended up putting an awful filter.
No,
on.
no. It's
like
they don't know what they're doing. And it's pretty bad right now.
Yeah, and I also
said, I'm extremely bitter because I helped start the thing, but they don't care.
I also said to them, I said, I don't mind sharing this with you right now so you can post it, but make sure to tag me in it. Was I tagged? No,
of course not.
Like the one thing that you could have done for me. So yeah, we're now bitter. We're being the bitter photographers now. We need to lighten.
I love what I do. I just want to. I came into this not ever expecting to make much money. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, and I love what I do. And it's just really hard.
Well, I think that shows a lot. You keep a passion. You have a passion. And
I love what I do. I really love what I do. And it's hard to imagine that there's so much money out there, and that yet the way the internet, I don't give a shit what anyone says. The internet has not been friendly to photographers financially. I have a ton of friends who are sports writers who have made a lot of money on the internet because of specific jobs. All these websites need original content writing-wise, and these writers get jobs to provide original content for all these specific websites. But the photo content, I'm talking specifically sports, the photo content is just wire pictures that run this big that cost them a nickel. So very few places, with the exception of now the Players Tribune, where a couple of our friends, Maureen Cavanaugh and Nate Corden, are now working. They are doing some great original content.
Nate's not at SI?
Nate's at the Players Tribune now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're doing great content. Jed Jacobson is their senior staff photographer, doing amazing work. A lot of people. Walter Yost is doing work for them. And they're doing really great stuff with big pictures. It's fabulous. And But very few people are doing cool things on the internet with pictures. It's all little crappy wire pictures that cost a nickel.
Right.
And so it hasn't converted financially, and it ain't gonna.
Yeah.
Because once it gets,
You think it's over? You think that sports photography is
unless something major happens, because it's I just look at you or anyone point blank in the eye. Who is going to pay you to go shoot a game? Answer me that. I'm out there.
Yeah.
It ain't happening.
Yeah.
Ain't happening.
Yeah.
It just, there's all, this guy's shooting for free, that guy's shooting for free, this woman's shooting for free, team photographer, AP, San Francisco Chronicle.
That's it.
The trading card companies are all gone except for Topps doing baseball, and they have to get their pictures from Getty.
So that's another. Oh, right. So all these exclusive Getty is basically what it comes down to. We should just lay it out. What it comes down to is these contracts, these arrangements by Getty and these big agencies that sort of lock up.
Well, the leagues are just as much to blame because they became greedy. Major League Baseball, the NFL, everyone. In the 90s, there were 8 companies licensed to do baseball trading cards. That meant there were 8 companies hiring photographers all over. Tons of people were getting work. And the leagues came in and decided, well, we just want to have one exclusive. And they did it with video games, with T-shirt manufacturers, with all these licenses. They consolidated and said, we just want you to pay us an insane number of millions of dollars.
Up front.
To be the plus a percentage.
Right.
To be the exclusive trading card of Major League Baseball, the exclusive T-shirt of Major League Baseball, the exclusive hat of Major League Baseball, or the NFL or the NBA. And so there it is. And so there's only one. And so there are very few products out there that need photographs for commercial products. So there's very few commercials where you make the money in sports, commercial licensing.
Right.
And there's very few products out there there's very few posters and calendars and trading cards and stuff like that need pictures.
Right.
There used to be tons. I've been doing this a long time. I could show you my sales reports from the 90s.
Well, that's what I was going to say. On Twitter, you actually posted some of your sales reports, was it?
I did a thing, from comparing a year ago to a Getty statement I had last in February, and it was not pretty.
It was like it was like 10%.
Yeah. Yeah, and that fluctuates, but that was a good example of there's just not a lot of money out there.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. That's not me
fact.
being bitter. That's just, here's the numbers, and I have all my records, and I could show you all my records. I mean, there's just not that much out there right now, and it's the way it is. So it's my problem, and I need to figure it out or move into my sister's basement or Grover's basement or Z's basement.
There might be a job opening at my mom's chicken wing restaurant.
Chicken wing, that could work. I've never been to Athens, Ohio.
Well, that kind of brings it full circle. I don't know if there were any questions or if there were any questions online. Okay. Any last thoughts before we head off on our ways?
What I do just want to say is for anyone out there watching or listening, that if you love what you do, and be it you want to be a sports photographer or a rock and roll photographer or a portrait photographer or anything that you love doing, I always advise people to pursue it, because if you really love doing it, you're going to do it better than other people that just kind of do it.
Right.
Because you're going to care. And you're going to care, and you're going to do it more, and you're going to work harder, and you're going to bring that passion. And the harder you work and the better you do at it, good things can happen. It takes an insane amount of work, but if you have that passion and you're willing to stick it out, I've been doing this a long time, good things can happen. You're never going to get rich, but it is really rewarding to do what you love and have the freedom to do what you love. And I still have nightmares that I have to go to work every day, and it scares the hell out of me. I mean, it's just, to be able to make a living with a camera and not be sitting behind a desk and be able to go outside and go to baseball games for me is a hell of a lot of fun. And, I've been incredibly lucky to be able to do that. I just hope I can continue for a few more years.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, on Instagram and all social media, you're just B Mangin, right?
I'm B Mangin on Instagram. I'm Brad Mangin on Twitter.
Okay, and you can follow him. We already mentioned all your web links, which are going to be down below, bradmangin.net and
Mangin Photography.
manginphotography.net.
And manginphotography.com.
And manginphotography.com.
I'm also the only Brad Mangin in the world, which makes it incredibly awesome.
It's spelled that way. I actually Googled something, and I misspelled your name, and there is... I'll tell you about it later. It's kind of funny what I found. You don't want to know. I don't want to say it on here. Okay. With that being said, you can also go to photobrigade.com/live, which is where hopefully you're watching this live right now, to view this event, other events, and our future events. Thank you again to Adorama, adorama.com/events in their event space to see what they've got going on, and to all our great partners that we mentioned earlier. Brad Mangin, thank you so much.
Robert Kaplan, thanks for having me. It was
all right.
fun.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for coming.